Hello there guys, Elita Legionarii here, and today I am bringing you a 2 versus 3 siege for Medieval 2 Total War Teutonic expansion for the Kingdoms. I'll actually be defending in this siege. Usually I prefer to attack because attacking is a little more challenging, generally speaking, but it'd be kind of fun to do a defense, that's why I did it. So I'm in command of the Teutonic Order. I'm joined by SwedishLandSknekt. He's in command of the Norwegians, or Norway. Our opponents were Imploski, I think it's meant to be, but the S is replaced with a 5. I think that's right. I might be wrong, sorry if I get your name wrong. He's in command of Novgorod, and we have Lithuania under the command of Kochkapanda, and the Holy Roman Empire under the command of TheIronPrice. So let's have a look at my forces first. When you play the Teutonic expansion, you've got to play the Teutonic Order. Well, I usually do. They're the best, however they are very expensive. But in a defensive role, they can be very dangerous. So I have 5 units of these Bergier pikemen. Pikes are great in defense because as long as you hold them in formation and support them with a sword unit, they should be able to keep enemy infantry units out really well. Great in sieges. Can be very effective in field battles too, but they're superb in sieges. Obviously not like the pikes of Rome Total War, but still very capable. So I've got 5 of those. I have the other 2 over here. Then I've got 4 of these Livonian auxiliaries. These are basically like Puppy's crossbowmen, as you can see. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and the other one's here. Then I have, where are they? 3 units of Sword Brethren. These guys are kind of like Feudal Knights, not quite as good as Feudal Knights, but not too drastically short of them. Still a capable sword unit, and they can be armoured all the way up to plate, like I've got them there. And then I've absolutely got the cream of the crop. I have 5 units of dismounted Ritter with full armour upgrades. These are beasts. Probably the best sword unit you'll see in any Medieval 2 scenario, base game or expansion. Sword and shield unit, they're absolutely brilliant. They look badass. I've got 5 of those. And I also have a catapult as well. Swedes went with a real big horde of infantry, which comes in very handy in this fight. Good choice with Norway as well. He's got 3 Viking raiders here. They must have at least silver defense upgrades, I think. Actually, no, they're probably all the way up to gold, actually. Then he's got some crossbowmen up here, 2 crossbowmen up here. I think he's got another one mixed in over here with me, with my Livonians over here. And that's a crossbow, so 3 crossbows that I can see. Norse archer there, that's his missile units. Here he's got a sword and staff militia. He's got a trebuchet over here, which he's going to use to bombard the Novgorod player. Then some more of his infantry over here. He's got, let's see, he's got 3 chivalric knights here. Then he's got some Norse swordsmen. He's got some feudal knights, some Huskarls. You see, he's got a nice mix. Then he's got these absolutely epic Gotland footmen. However, they're a great unit. I do think they perform pretty well here, but I thought it was a bit risky for him to bring them in this scenario. Not because 2-handed units are not glitchy in the Kingdoms expansion, but because they still generally require a good charge to get the best out of them. And as a defending player, he's likely not going to get that, but he makes good use of them anyway. He's got a couple of these. He's got some Norse swordsmen. He's got these Samurai axemen. Needless to say, he had a massive horde of infantry of all sorts of types, and he made great use of them. And let's have a look over here. Okay, Price's forces got 3 religious fanatics up front. He's got a basilisk and a serpentine for his artillery, and he's got 2 dismounted Gothic knights. As I said, 2-handed units are much more reliable and effective in Kingdoms, so it's very, very wise to actually bring them. Although sieges can be a little bit, as the attacker it makes sense, as the defender can be a wee bit more tricky, but he's also got 5 dismounted feudal knights. Let's see, there's 3 dismounted imperial knights, and then 3 forlorn hope. The rules actually were there were no cavalry and 2 art per player, and that was it. And it means a lot of infantry in this fight, so very nice infantry forward there for the Holy Roman Empire. Panda's got a trebuchet and a cannon. Then he's got 4 dismounted Borgia. These are kind of like chivalric knights with an axe, not quite as high stats as chivalric knights or feudal knights, but they do have an armor-piercing weapon, so they're a very good unit. Then he's got 2 units of he's got Samogatian axemen here. He's got 2 of those there. Then he's got 5 chivalric knights, dismounted chivalric knights, and then he's got these Sudovian tribesmen, which are axe-armed light infantry by the looks of things. Then he's got a Guillotine's Chosen. This unit's a beast. I would have probably bought more of them if I were him, but maybe he was thinking because it's a siege it won't be as easy to get them to get charged, but even without it they're still beasts. Then the Russian player, his forces consist of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dismounted Vor, 4 dismounted Boyar Sons, 4 dismounted Trishina, 2 Cossack musketeers, a spearman, and a cannon, and a trebuchet. This force is used pretty well balanced, to be honest. Devor are great in that they can be used as infantry and as archers, and he used them pretty... in terms of missiles, he used them pretty effectively, but as infantry I didn't think he did, to be honest. But anyway, that's all the forces. The money was, I believe it was 45k for the 3 of them and 35 myself and Swedes. I kind of at the time, while doing the battle, I wish I'd given me and Swedes more, because the way I worked it out is with 45 each to them, that means they get 15k each, and 35 between me and Swedes means we only get 17.5. So that really means that we've only actually got 5k more on our team, and given that there's 3 of them and only 2 of us, that actually put us at a disadvantage, and I didn't even realise it until we were in the battle. It would have made more sense to give me and Swedes more like 40k to be able to match them. I didn't want to do too much because then it's one-sided, but given that there was more of them, and they only had a difference of 2.5k, it's not actually all that much. And we probably could have had more like 5k each on top of them instead of 2.5, so that made this more tricky than I intended. Also, my army composition consists of a lot of pikemen, which are usually very good in sieges because you can put them in choke points and you can use buildings to cover them from missile fire. But as you can see, there's not a lot of choke points here. It's just this central keep and then the walls. I wasn't familiar with the castles on Teutonic because I had not really done different sieges on here before. So it's very open, so it's hard to protect pikes. It's going to prove hard to protect my pikes from the missiles that I'd normally be able to protect them from on a more sort of traditional kind of castle map you might see on the base game. So anyway, sort of just slow it down. So what's going to happen here is I start opening up on some of these guys down here, my dudes over here, and these 2 kind of hold it back, and they're just going to use their cannons to make some breaches and knock in some of the towers, is pretty much to be anticipated. I deploy guys along here because of this thing in the back here. They won't be able to breach this area, and they won't even try because of that little moat there anyway, so they won't be able to get the troops through. So this is a good place to have guys for firing. But as you can see, there's already fire coming in on this side. Swedes is using his trebuchet to fire over here, and this guy is using his at the same pace, although he is targeting buildings. Using their cannon to knock in this region here. But for the moment we're just going to skirmish, and they're going to just make their walls. So if you want to skip ahead towards more action, feel free to do so, unless you enjoy listening to me talking. So anyway, my plan was just to sort of choke them with my pikemen, and then just have swordsmen to make sure my pikemen didn't crack, basically, and that would hold them out while we just sort of thin them down. But they do a very good job of getting at my pikemen, and as I said, because there was not many choke points to exploit on this particular castle, it basically means that my pikemen are much less efficient in comparison to what they would ordinarily be on the standard kind of castle level maps you would see on the base medieval. Don't get me wrong, I do like this castle. It's a nice actual change. I just wasn't expecting it to be this open. If looking back at it now, had I known what this castle's composition was going to be like, I would have brought a lot more sword infantry and less pikes, like Swedes, because Swedes ends up having a better time of it with this all-round variety of infantry. My sword infantry do great, but my pikes are more limited because they're more exposed. And I just didn't realise this map was going to be like this, because as I said, I've never actually done a siege. Well, I have done a siege on Teutonic, but only one. So, and never on this map. I think it was Kiev. But anyway, one of them got a lucky hit and destroyed one of my catapults. I'm moving this up so that when they start making an advance, I can start bombing them. At the moment, most of the Russian players bring most of his force this way, but they're still making a breach here, so I decided to leave one pikeman here, and I'm bringing my other pikeman this way because it's likely where he's going to make his approach. So as you can see, this wall's down, this tower is destroyed. But what you can do here is you can deploy your guys. It's clustered, so they won't all get the best firing angles, but if you cluster them up in the corner of a tower like this, or like I did over, where did I do it? I can't remember where I headed over there before, but this just right next to the tower is indestructible. They can't actually drop that section of the wall, so that allows me to place these guys here and still be safe from his artillery. So you can exploit little things like that and the design features of the walls and mechanics of the walls in the game. So as you can see, more bombardments coming in, towers are being knocked out. Because me and Swedes have stationed our guys here, the towers will fire for us, so they do have to knock them out. If there's no one near the towers, there's really no need to knock them out. But they're going to do it because me and Swedes have stationed guys near the towers, so they do have to take them out, otherwise the towers will fire at his troops. And if you leave your troops exposed to tower fire for long enough, you will lose quite a lot of men, so it's not really worth it in that regard. So I leave my pikeman here because there is a breach. He's not looking to expose it, although he's going to use his muskets here to try and shoot these guys and force them back. And these guys here, I think I start using these guys here to target them. As you can see, there's more fire coming in over here. 2 entry points coming in. This is where the Russians going to try and come in. And because it was less choke points, I was a little bit worried about this initially, because I figured that my pikemen are just going to get exposed to missile fire from either direction, and there's not going to be any buildings to kind of block it out, like I said, like you'd ordinarily get. So I was a wee bit worried about that, to be honest, and looking back in hindsight, it would have been more viable to bring a larger number of infantry, sword infantry and various bits and pieces like that rather than the pikes. The pikes are great, but they just need to be protected from missiles. So I'm forced to bring these guys back over here because his muskets will be able to fire them and no doubt reduce their morale a great deal and weaken them and they'll rout too quickly. As you can see, this tower has been knocked in as well. So as you can see, what we're trying to do here is just sort of use my pikemen and Swedes' sword and staff militia just to block it, while we had swords to make sure they didn't break in the flank there. But what's going to happen in a moment, I think I might have missed them. Where are they? Yeah, they were over here. Here we go. I must have missed them before. They're 2 Pubbies crossbowmen from the TheIronPrice, and he's going to bring them in to start shooting my pikemen here. Now, I don't really want my pikemen to be exposed to missile fire. So I would ordinarily have moved them, but I decided to allow them to stay because while he was focusing on my pikemen, my 2 Livonian auxiliaries and Swedes crossbowmen up here were shooting his 2 Pubbies crossbowmen, and I figured the trade was worth it to get rid of 2 Pubbies crossbowmen for the trade of 1 pikeman, which is most likely going to get exposed from this 2 angles. Like once this Russian player or Novgorod player moves up, he's going to just be able to fire at their flanks anyway, no matter where I try and hide him. So it's inevitable that they're going to get hit. So I figured that if I offer the TheIronPrice some bait, I can destroy his missiles. That was the thinking anyway. So as you can see, Swedes are still trying to bomb away here. I believe I had my guys here, and as you can see, they are firing. Only the front row are going to get really good hits, but they will get the odd one of his musketeers. And Cossack musketeers are very expensive, so you don't want to be losing them, to much cheaper crossbow units. At this stage there's some more still bombardments coming in, but now I think they were trying to target some of our guys here, so we had to be careful of that. As you can see, we're getting into a missile duel with the Iron Price, but we've got 3 missile units firing them down, or 2 I think. So yeah, this unit here this Pike unit's starting to take hits from them, which is a bit of a nuisance, but it is exposing his 2 crossbowmen, which he's not put into loose, so they will get steadily worn down. So I'm willing to trade 1 pikeman to get rid of 2 of these guys, because I don't think my pikemen are going to be safe, because they'll just get attacked from the other side anyway. So there were a few shots here from one of the cannons, I think, or trebuchets or something. I think it was one of the cannons that hit a bunch of these guys, and they got most of Swede's men instead of my pikemen, so we've had to move here. As you see, the Russian player is moving his trebuchet up, which is bad because that means he's going to start trying to hit the back of these guys. I've had to put one of my Ritterbrüder into loose to avoid it getting too many hits, and I moved some other ones in this gap here to protect them. As you can see, this Pike unit is down to 64. It still gets worn pretty much all the way down to 0, but as you can see, his guys have lost. He's lost 20 men in this unit basically, and he's lost 12 in that, so he's lost a good 30 missile units, and I'm using my artillery here to actually hit a few of them as well. I actually got a nice hit there, because usually you don't hit very much with catapults, at least at long range. So this sort of continues on for a while. If you find this boring, guys, do skip ahead if you want to get to the action. The action does get pretty intense. There was a lot going on in a lot of places, and I'll try and catch as much of it as I can. Actually, talking about just for thought of it, I was looking through Game Ranger the other day, and apparently Medieval 2 is accessible to Game Ranger. I didn't think it was. It's just that you never see anyone playing Medieval 2 on Game Ranger. But I did notice there were people playing it. Not people playing it, I noticed it was in the list that you could work with. So it seems that Medieval 2 should still be accessible to Game Ranger, so I was quite pleased about that. So I think I'm still targeting some of his guys over here. As you can see, the Russian player starts moving forward. Now this is where the enemy team, because we were, as I said at the start, we only had 5,000 more than them as a whole team, and that is really not enough when you're facing a whole extra opponent, at least in my opinion. But where that gives this team the advantage, the attacking team the advantage, but where they went wrong was the Russian player moved up and started attacking much sooner than Iron and Panda did, so that didn't work out great. So as you can see, there's trebuchet shots coming in, so that kind of makes our flanks a bit vulnerable. As you can see, Swedes actually moves forward here, try and chase him out, but Swedes doesn't want to stay out like that. He's just trying to chase him out, maybe try and bait him in a bit. But these dismounted Dvor do a pretty good job in this fight, to be honest, at least in terms of his missile units. I put my pikeman here just because it looks like he's going to attack, but they're going to take a lot of missile fire. But Sweden's going to start pouring out his Viking Raiders now into these dismounted Dražina. I have placed some of my guys up here in the corner. However, they're kind of glitched in that some of them are over here, and as you see, half of them are over here. It's the same unit. I don't know how that happened, but they're targeting these Russian troops. I keep my pikemen here so they can't try and get through in one point, because his dismounted Dražina and stuff like that shouldn't do very well against Swedes guys and my sword brethren. They should be able to beat those guys, and he's got hit by one of his own trebuchet shots, and that severely beat up a lot of his guys. He got some spearmen there too. He actually uses the spearmen in like Skiltrom, I think, and uses it pretty well to be a distraction and a nuisance. We're still firing away at Iron here, and this is where Panda starts sending, and Iron starts sending a token force to try and attack around here. Basically, I thought it was very clever because they're making use of the extra numbers, because we got quite absorbed in the fight with Russia at this moment, and by attacking us on multiple angles, it means we're going to try and micro on several different locations. Let me just pause for a moment. I just feel like it's laggy. And as you can see, this pike unit has been severely withered down. This sword and staff militia are getting a beating as well. And basically what's happening is we can't really guard these points quickly enough because they're getting attacked pretty badly by these these dismounted Vor. In a moment, I think I'm starting to bring another one of my crossbow units over here and put it in loose just to busy him a bit. He's going to use this Skiltron to kind of block us from coming out after him, and that'll slow us down. He's got units in support, and he does a good job for the most part with his attacks, but the problem was he didn't time his attacks with Panda and Iron. If that had been done, I really think me and Swedes probably would not have been able to stand up to it enough. As you can see that my sword brethren here are taking quite a beating. A lot of missile damage coming in from these dismounted Vor. They're doing a fine job of just absolutely tearing into us. And he's got good angle shots on them. And he's got these musketeers here too, and that was a little bothersome because they could have potentially caused some serious morale problems. But the thing is with muskets, and especially in a siege scenario, they tend to be very glitchy. We got pretty fortunate in that regard, to be honest. I think Swedes is now moving his trebuchet this way, but as you can see, there's fire coming in from this trebuchet on this end, and I'm trying to get my guys into the corner, but where there's less likely chance of hitting them. But it's kind of a bit nerve-wracking because if he gets any good hits over here on my infantry, it's going to be pretty dangerous. Now my crossbowmen kind of got glitchy here. They wouldn't go where I was telling them to go, and they was kind of clumping. However, he brings his spearmen in here, and then me and Swedes are going to close in and try and get these Dracaena and trap them inside the city. He also attacked kind of piecemeal, which was, I thought, a little bit reckless because he just wasted troops. As you can see, they're all starting to rout. He needs to attack more en masse and in coordination with his allies to make advantage of their superior numbers, and you have to bear in mind with only 2.5k extra, me and Swedes troops are not really that much more upgraded, not as much as I was hoping for. I thought, as I said, I really should have brought more money and added more money to it, but I didn't. So that gives them it gives them a pretty good advantage because they do have a whole extra army with very minimal differences in monetary funds, and they have plenty of artillery support as well. So we were quite concerned, I think, or at least I was, that we would, if they coordinated the attack correctly, we just would not have enough to deal with it. As I said, my pikes turn out to be less efficient because just how much missile fire there is, and you either have to keep them out of the action or you have to expose them. So it was difficult to employ them here because there wasn't enough kind of choke points to cover me. I think it's around this stage here. Here's a force from the Iron Price. He's sending a very large number of his feudal knights and imperial knights this way with his fanatics. I think he's left still a good token force over here as well. And they're going to try and attack from multiple angles. Because as you can see, we've got pretty limited defences over here, mostly because there was very little over here. Panda has also sent a small force over here, and they're going to try and siege. I decided to bring up a Ritterbrooder over here because I see that they're going to start bringing more siege gear to climb the walls. As you can see, there's some ladders here, and I was suspecting they might go for the walls, so I put a Ritterbrooder over there because I knew it would be able to keep them out. As you can see, the Russian player sends more forces in piecemeal, and they get wiped out by me and Swedes sandwiching them. So the Russian player, I thought, was just being a little careless with his planning. One of Swedes' artillery trebuchets just got wrecked, and at this stage they were going to rout what's left of these dismounted Dracaena. As you can see though, these two units of crossbowmen they've destroyed basically this whole pikeman unit, but they themselves have been destroyed more or less in the process by my artillery. My crossbows, but they're out of ammunition now. As you can see, there is cannon fire coming in here. Where were they targeting? I think, yeah, they were targeting here, trying to get entry points here. So what they're going to try and do is target here and try and climb here and probably come in through here, while at the same time all the action's happening over here and the rest of their forces come here. And basically this is going to stretch me and Swedes thin, and it's going to kind of make it so we've got a micro on all sides of our castle, which in turn is more difficult to do. I think, yeah, I'm using my catapult here, my last remaining catapult, in the hopes of trying to hit some of these clustered troops. A lot of his dismounted Vor are running out of ammunition at this stage, but he's done a pretty large amount of damage. As you can see, he sends in another unit piecemeal, And this was where he just made this big mistake. And look at that, as soon as it comes in, the whole unit just routed. Just because it automatically walks into a situation where it's just overwhelmed by enormous numbers, not supported, and it's surrounded, and a full unit can rout like that. And especially when he's using Novgorod, which is essentially Russia from the base game. It's the same units. And as you know, that Russian infantry in the base game are not really that great, especially no match for Norwegian or Teutonic, that's for real. And I have even employed my Ritterbrüder here. I'm trying to conserve them for the later stages of the game, because that will enable us to that'll enable us to survive longer. As you can see, that cannon fire from Price and Panda has ripped holes through the walls over here. I've got my pikemen here trying to block, and I brought a sword brethren unit over here to support, because I suspect that these walls are going to become a focus point. And I see Swedes has got some Gotland footmen, some semi-axemen, and some crossbowmen here, and I've just brought a sword unit just to help play that gap, and my Ritterbrüder is going to cover the wall. Also, we're still skirmishing away out here. I think Price is starting to move his forces up. They didn't have great communication, because I thought Panda was a wee bit late on his attack as well, or Price was too early, one or the other. The Russian player is just wasting his troops like this, just going in waves like this. Had he gone in when they gone in, we would have been hard stretched to defend against that much infantry. Because like I said, I brought those pikemen, and I had to constantly hide them away from the missile fire that was coming in on them, which really means I only had my Ritterbrüder and my sword brethren to work with, which is only about 8 infantry in conjunction with probably about the 15-16 that Swedes had. So we had roughly probably about 23-24 infantry units, and they probably had, like, looking at their forces, they probably had more like closing up around 40. So we were pretty hard pressed. So over here, as you can see, the Iron Price begins his assault and Panda comes in. They're targeting the towers here. I bring up these guys here. However, the Russian player is going to use his musketeers to try and shoot me, so I'm going to try and run them off with these pikes. A bit of a gamble, but it does draw some forces away over here, so this area's got less going on. As you can see, more Russian forces come in piecemeal, and more Russian forces are going to get swamped, because I've got some Ritterbrüder over here and my 2 sword brethren. Also, this fight is obviously started, like I said. But these are only light troops from them, so Swedes' 2-handed units should eventually defeat them. I reinforced with the sword brethren, and now these crappy light infantry are going to, well, probably not crappy, but they're not going to be able to stand up to Ritterbrüder for any moment at all. But I start bringing in my guys here, Swedes bringing in his guys, and we're going to basically swamp what's left of these dismounted boyars and units here, and that's going to rout these guys pretty quickly, because as you can see, they're quite shaken, and he's firing his trebuchet, and he's probably hitting a lot of his own men. I think he hit his own men again there, and we routed those dudes, and these guys are probably going to rout too. My catapult's firing back, but he's been sending forces in this entire time. Over here, the Serpentine crew came in to fight us there. But they're trying to breach in over here, but they're only using their light infantry. They're trying to conserve their better infantry for the second wave, which is logical. But our forces are doing a pretty nice job of holding them out at this section. These guys here are mostly routed. The first wave of them routed. Now he's sending some more heavy infantry in. Now, because I had to pull my pikemen back, because of these musketeers, I didn't want them to rout. They were able to bring in some of their lighter infantry, but I'm going to bring up my pikemen again to try and hold them out. Swedes bring some chivalric knights in. He's still got some reserves here. This is what was great about Swedes' build. It basically had so many sword infantry, and I kind of wish I'd bothered with less pikes now and got more of those. They were clever here in that they used this as an opportunity to get inside their gates, because they were up on the walls, I think. How'd that work? I can't even remember how that worked. They got into the gate though. But at this stage, I bring my sword brethren out of this fight over here, because I see that Swedes is holding out, and I'm going to let them deal with the Livonian auxiliaries. I'm not really sure how they seized the gate actually. They did seize it too though. But he's bringing in forces in pretty large mass. But Swedes has his reserves and he's able to pull them out, and we're fighting over here with my pikemen and lots of Swedes units. As you can see, his Imperial Knights are getting absolutely annihilated by these Ritterbrüder on the wall. no match, and especially coming up a wall, which puts them at a disadvantage. The Russian player is more or less destroyed. We're just using a minimal token force to hold them out. Over here, where was it? Over here, some of these light infantry going up against Swedes Viking Raiders, and I got a unit of Ridderbruder and some pikemen holding in behind to give that an assist. Most of the fight's probably over here at this stage. But as you can see, our infantry for the most part is better, especially than the Russian infantry, and slightly more upgraded. My Ridderbruder are in over here now as well, and we're holding these guys out pretty well at this stage. My pikemen have unfortunately dropped their pikes for the most part, but they're definitely doing a holding force and keeping these guys out. My Ridderbruder have successfully pretty much cleaned out what forces on the wall up there, and our remaining guys are going to rout them here as they try and come in. As you can see, Price is starting to engage here, and this is where I thought, I don't know, I think Panda might have been a bit slow on this, but he's still got quite a few Chivalric Knights here that he doesn't engage quick enough, because seeing as the whole force is coming in now, he needs to get these guys into the battle so they can maximise their numbers quickly. So over here, more forces coming in. This is where the pikes are going to work. This is another pike unit I sent to reinforce here, and I got a Ridderbruder unit in here, and this is just going to hold these guys out, and they're not going to be able to get through there very easily at all. We're holding the Russian player out because he was attacking in waves at the start. He really wasted his force. Had we needed to deploy forces here, over there and over here, I think we would have been stretched with the amount of numbers we could have deployed, to be perfectly honest. So I reckon if he'd just waited, it would have worked out a lot better for us, for them rather. As you can see, these Gothic Knights coming in, and they are starting to overwhelm Swedes' infantry units, so I'm going to again reinforce one of my sword brethren. And he's got a Gotland footman here, but I think he's waiting for some of his own troops to weaken before he gets a counter charge, because you need to get that charge with two-handed units. And I reinforced my pikes here just to make sure nothing tries slipping in that gap again. And basically we're just running back and forth to areas that desperately need our focus. So over here, as you can see, some of these guys, I'm not entirely sure how they got in here like this. My only conclusion is they must have slipped through that gap. I'm really not sure how they managed that, or they somehow got around here, I don't know. But they're outflanking us, so I'm going to send in some Ridderbruder to deal with them, cover the flanks there. I'm using my Livonian auxiliaries here to support, and my pikemen. And here, as you can see, these troops are starting to push through, but there's another unit of Ridderbruder here holding them out. And Ridderbruder in this kind of defensive fight against other sword infantry, they're going to clean up, because they are an absolutely incredible sword infantry unit. That's why I love using them. They look badass, and they just got some amazing stats. They also have a fear factor, so they help rout units quicker as well. So these guys are going to get ground down by these Ridderbruder pretty quickly. As you can see, I'm bringing in more of my own Ridderbruder just to cover this area, and we're reinforcing over here, because as you can see, the fight over here has pretty much been halted. We pour in our troops over here just to stop these guys from getting in. Down here, blocking out still. They're trying another assault on the wall. They're routed actually. I've replaced these with just some Livonian auxiliaries so I could get my Ridderbruder into other key areas of the fight. But again, I think Panda needs to be moving his guys especially into this area over here, or into this area over here. They need to try and make sure they've got all their numbers down, because me and Swedes are hard pressed to defend 3 locations at once. Had they put all their numbers down at the same time, we probably wouldn't have had enough forces within our vicinities to be able to handle it. But as you can see, these guys are trying to fight their way through my Ridderbruder. It says they're doing alright for now, but they will eventually lose, because as I said, Ridderbruder are much better. I have definitely got the best sword infantry unit on this out of all the teams playing at the moment. As you can see, this unit routes. You may notice why these guys are flashing yellow. I think that's because someone must have shot a cow with their one of the trebuchets, and it did some. I think it does like I can't remember what it does. It weakens them, something, and when it's flashing yellow, it indicates that's what's happened. So we managed to rout the seeing guy over here. As you can see, our guys are still holding out quite nicely over here. This is why I like pikes, is you can just put some pikes here and mix them with swords, and they just kind of hold everything back while the swords do the killing. As you can see, some more of these guys are sort of fighting through here, but they have lost. Panda's only now starting to draw his knights forward. I think he probably could have used them sooner, because what's happened is that we've managed to weaken enough forces. So what's going to happen, it's going to allow us to, it's basically because these forces were getting destroyed piecemeal before these guys could support them or attack at another angle to try and draw some of our forces off. It's going to allow us, once we've weakened these forces enough, to regroup our forces at the next location. So I think what they should have done, I think the biggest mistake was from the Russian player personally, and that he started attacking way sooner than these guys. But then Iron and Panda, they made a good attack over here, but I just don't think they put enough pressure down at all the points. And what ended up happening was me and Swedes had enough time to reorganise our forces to constantly defend the areas that were under pressure. So I think when you've got the numerical advantage like this, and they do have quite a significant numerical advantage considering it's all infantry, they should have attacked simultaneously, because that would have been harder, would have pressed me and Swedes much harder to defend every point. We could have done it, but we would have had much less forces defending each vicinity, because they'd be spread out amongst all the areas under attack, and as a result they would have had more numerical superiority in the vicinities they were fighting in. So I think they didn't time their attacks as well as they should have, and I think that allowed me and Swedes to basically resist in areas where we otherwise probably would have been overwhelmed. As you can see, there's some fighting going on here, but I was really glad that Swedes actually chose Norway, because Norway has an awesome, and same with Denmark, has an awesome variety of different kinds of infantry, heavy infantry and axe infantry, sword infantry to choose from. The Teutonic Order has some awesome knights, but very expensive, which is why I only got 5 Ritterbrüder, because they are expensive. And I went, because as I said, as I was thinking it was going to be more of a choke point orientated castle, whereas it wasn't, it was much more open. I would have been better to have brought less pikes, but I guess that's just I didn't know that. But I pour in my Ritterbrüder over here to take on some of these Imperial Knight, they're Feudal Knights rather, and supported by Swedes, and I've got my Sword Brethren in here as well, although they're pretty weakened at this stage. But overall, with Gotland Footmen and Ritterbrüder in this vicinity, Feudal Knights are going to be outclassed, and it's going to be a severe ass kicking for them. So this vicinity's got nothing much going on, so we're starting to reinforce over here. As you can see, more of Price's forces are now starting to push. We got guys in waves holding them back. I've still got my Ritterbrüder unit here in reserve. This is my general, and I was kind of holding him close to the battle, but not actually engaging him. Well, I had him engaged before, but I'm trying not to engage him, so he can just sit here and rally. Basically keep all these troops in this vicinity with good morale, so they hold out. As you can see, Sweden's going to pour some more men. I'm going to toss my Livonian auxiliaries in now, because these Imperial Knights were actually, not Imperial Knights, these Feudal Knights are starting to win. As you can see, Panda is still coming around here, and it's a good sizable force, and he's running now because he knows he needs to get in. But again, had they attacked more simultaneously and in more mass, this would have been way harder for me and Swedes, because I don't think we would have had enough strength in all the areas. At this stage I'm sending another Ritterbrüder, and Swedes putting some Viking Raiders here, and yeah, 2 Ritterbrüders this way, and with the one I already I think have in the vicinity. I didn't realise they'd actually started chasing the guys out of the castle, and I almost got caught out here. I was fortunately able to draw them back in. I don't want to take them out like this, because they'll be able to get swamped by all those Chivalric Knights out there. At this stage, it was really dangerous here, because these feudal knights, some of these imperial, these Holy Roman Empire and Lithuanian units started to breach. And Sweden sent me a message, because I was trying to focus on other sides of the field, and that's what I'm talking about when you're focusing on multiple areas. Excuse me, guys, phone. Apologies, guys, my phone constantly rings when I'm recording. It always has to happen. It's annoying. Anyway, as you can see, there was a breach through here, and Swedes messaged me, so I tossed my Ritterbrüder into this particular fight, and that allows us to plug the gap in time before we got destroyed over here, fortunately. So good spotting on his part. As I was saying though, because you've got to fight on multiple different angles, you sometimes focus too much on one area and not on another. So that's why, again, targeting simultaneous areas and all at once for their team would have given them advantage. Because it was 3 of them and only 2 of us, that would have given them a micromanagement edge as well. But at this stage, our guys hold out pretty well. I think at this time I say to Swede, can you toss these Chivalric Knights and crossbowmen in over here? Because my Rotobruters are really tired and they're in pretty slim numbers at this stage, and I'm fighting a lot of full units of Chivalric Knights. Over here, he's going to try climbing the walls again. So I think, yeah, I reinforce and put one of my Rotobruters over here because I know that these Chivalric Knights would easily destroy any crossbowmen I put on the wall. So yeah, Swede is going to reinforce me here. These Rotobruters do a fantastic job of holding out against his large numbers. Over here, I think finally, now that we've finally managed to stop their attack on this side, we start pulling all our remaining forces this way to deal with what is left of our opponents. So we're pulling in the fight here, and as you can see, Swedes is going to put some Viking Raiders up on the wall. But as you can see, he sends some of his units around to get around behind, but we've got our forces reinforced. They've broken through over here, and now they can come back and reinforce in this vicinity. So again, had they been putting more pressure on all the angles, we probably wouldn't have been able to do this and reinforce to areas that needed it. So that's why you need to try and attack in team battles, especially if it's like a 3 vs 2 where you have not quite as well upgraded troops, but you have a numerical advantage. You need to make use of that numerical advantage and try and put your overwhelming numbers down and try and spread the attack in multiple areas to try and take advantage of your numbers and take advantage of your enemy trying to control on multiple fronts, basically. I know I'm probably repeating myself a lot, but it's basically what's going on this entire fight. So hopefully there's been some nice close-ups for you, but this was a really epic fight, to be honest. At the time I did not feel like a siege. I thought sieges take too long and I just don't feel like one, but I'm really glad I did this one because it was an excellent battle, and we both, all of us I'm sure, had a lot of fun. And as you can see, I break the remaining Chivalric Knights up here, and I'm able to reinforce with more Rotobrüder here, and that should enable us with our freed up units over here to come and assist. And what we're going to do is, me and Swedes are going to come down off here and we're going to come round out the gatehouse and get behind these Chivalric Knights that are fighting over here. But as you can see, some of them are starting to rout now, and there's nothing left over here. There was a few of these guillotines chosen. I didn't even realise he hadn't put them in. That was strange because they're an awesome unit, as is General actually. But Swede's got a couple of forces there, and all he's going to do is hold them up. It's too little too late now anyway. For them, as excellent unit as the guillotines chosen is to actually make a difference at this stage. I think, where is it? Yeah, he's broken through over here and he's going to push around. What I'm going to do is bring my Rotobrüder down and come out the gate. I lost my general at this stage, which was a bit of a nuisance, but it's not drastic. We've already taken the fight basically. It's just a grind down to the end. And I think I'll just let you guys enjoy the close-ups of what's going on at this stage. It's not very often that I actually play, or Swedes for that matter. Whoops, sorry. Play a defensive battle because defensive sieges, like, unless it's one where there's like more players attacking than there are defending, like this one, they tend to favour the defender and be less difficult for them, and I prefer the challenge of the attack, and attacking is more fun, it's more my style. However, that's not to say it's not fun to do defence. I do enjoy defending, and this was a really great game. So as you can see, our troops are coming in here, going to encircle our opponents here. So we've got complete control of the castle at this stage, and we're going to get the last of his men. What's happening over here? Guillotine's chosen are fighting it, but too late to make a difference. So yeah, I really think they could have won this fight, to be perfectly honest. I think they had the advantage because, as I said, our team actually didn't have the monetary advantage that the team with the least players would normally have, because we did, but it was much less than normal, and that was because I made a bit of a mistake. I probably should have made our team have 40k while they had 45, not 35k like we had in this fight, but that gave them an edge, and they had the numbers, so I think they didn't make use of their numbers as well as they could. They still did very well, especially Panda and Price with the timing of like where they were trying to attack, but they didn't bring it all together with timing, and it enabled me and Swedes to get into fights and reinforce fights that were looking dangerous. Whereas if they attacked all together, that might have been a lot more harder to do. But anyway, Swedes takes the cake there with a whopping 1,168 kills and 318 captures. His army was probably the better suited, not because my infantry was, especially my Ritterbrüder, were actually the strongest out of everyone here, but the pikemen, a couple of them were good, where they didn't take too much missile damage and they were able to hold out, but they didn't do very well, as we'll see in a moment when I click on the stats. So it would have been better to just brung a lot more sword infantry. That's why Norway was a really good choice for this, actually, for this kind of battle, and this castle wasn't well suited to pikes, at least in my opinion. But I still had a respectable 908 with 299 captures, and we have very good kills for Price at 846. He did very well, and the Russian pirate actually got quite a few. And Panda was probably just a little late bringing those chivalric knights in. Had he timed it with his teammates, I think it would have been a very different story for us, to be honest. Looking at the stats here, these dismounted Ritterbrüder did very well. As you can see, these pikemen, this one did okay, this one did alright, but they didn't do that great. Probably because they were just exposed to a lot of missile fire. It wasn't the kind of setup in the castle like I was anticipating. I was anticipating more kind of like streetways and stuff like you normally see in castles and stuff, and sort of narrow regions you can kind of block and then use the buildings to cover them from missile fire. It wasn't like that, and I didn't realise that. It made it a lot harder. But as you can see, dismounted Ritterbrüder, apart from this one really, they all did very, very well. Very good sword unit, very awesome. These Livonian auxiliaries, they did pretty well as well, actually. They did quite good. And the sword brethren, a couple of them did alright, I guess. So that's me. I suspect Swedes probably got the best out of it. I think he had a great mix of infantry, which allowed him to support a lot of locations. And that came in very, very handy in this fight indeed. So nonetheless though, it was an awesome game. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I certainly hope you guys enjoyed watching. I will link Swed's channel in the description, so be sure you drop by and check it out. And if you're on Medieval 2, come and play these guys, because they are very, very good players, and it's always exciting to play them. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy. Please leave comments, love reading comments, and I'll see you soon next time.